It is so wonderful to be here. These sessions have just completely rocked and blown my mind, and my mind has been racing the whole time. So big shout out to Financial Brand and all the vendors and presenters, because it's been amazing. So really proud to be a part of it. So I'm Jill Castilla. I lead a teeny tiny little bank in Edmond, Oklahoma, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about our story because I think it provides you a lack of excuses. We are small, we have 55 employees, we're in a very traditional market, highly competitive, we have one office, and nothing should really work. Like, we should be the dinosaur that everybody is thinking about. But we're changing things, and we have this sense that we are victors and not victims. And even though we may have a ton of regulation that may be crushing our industry, that we can deal with it. We're smart and we're brilliant, and we're just still going to rock it no matter what folks throw at us. So this is my beautiful little bank. It is in a suburb of Oklahoma City, Edmond, Oklahoma. Edmond is the affluent suburb of Oklahoma City. It's one of the most highly educated communities in the U.S. I love my town. I grew up in eastern Oklahoma, and where it's a little poor and the unemployment is high. Edmond is just the opposite of that. Edmond, the beautiful parks, great schools, it's just this great utopia. So if you haven't visited Oklahoma City, please come by and see us, and I'll give you the grand tour of my Oklahoma City and my Edmond. My bank is $250 million in size. We have a great ownership structure, so my 55 team members at our bank own a third of the bank, and that's not just the senior management team, that's every teller, everyone in our operations department. All of us are owners, so there's this great sense of accountability. As peers, whenever you're grabbing the chocolate chip cookie that we banked for customers, someone's gonna give you a dirty look and say, hey, that's my retirement you're touching. So we have this great sense of responsibility and accountability now in our bank, and I absolutely love that. We've been on the same intersection in downtown Edmond for 115 years, and not completely different from a lot of community banks out there. There's thousands of us that are over 100 years old, and we're one of those. We're the oldest community bank in our market. We have 50 banks in Edmond in the community. There's about 100,000 people that are in our school district. It's highly competitive. Most of the big guys are there. Lots of large regionals are there on every street corner, and branches are still being built. We sold all our branch locations besides our main location in 2013 and lost no customers as a result. Our cost of funds is 0.05, and our peer group is 0.45. So we don't pay anything for deposits. We are located in a historic area where parking is really, really, really difficult, and you have to drive by all these 50 banks to do business with us. So we don't pay you anything. Parking is contentious. There's competitors everywhere. This really shouldn't work, but it is working, and it's been pretty amazing for us. I came back to our bank in 2009. I actually worked there in the bookkeeping department in 1998 before joining the Federal Reserve Bank. And I came back when the bank was in trouble. They had just had an examination, and it was a really, really bad one. So they brought me in to be the cleanup girl. And I fully embraced that role and have all kinds of nicknames from that experience. My staff now are slowly revealing what some of those nicknames were. They were largely inappropriate. The most prolific one was Cobra. But I was the dictator. I mean, I was correcting things, and it was kind of a one-woman show. But the staff was very loyal to the previous management. Within a couple of weeks of being at the bank, I found millions of dollars of internal fraud. Our capital account was overstated by $2 million. It was a complete and utter disaster. If you went online and looked at our bank, you would see ratings that were D- and even F whenever you went to bankrate.com. And our CAMELS ratings also reflected that. Every stone that I uncovered had something really stinky and smelly underneath it. And we had 120 employees at that time, and like I said, we're now at 55. So we've reduced staff, but we did that without any reductions in force. All of it has been through turnover and just absorbing that and just building a very strong team. But when you Googled our bank, and even if you Googled Bank Oklahoma, because the economy was so strong in Oklahoma in 2009 and 2010, there are very, very few troubled institutions, and we were the only one in a metropolitan area. So as a result, we got all the headlines. And even though the journalists could have been they could have been very cruel during that time period and be very fantastic in headlines. They were very generous, but the facts were not favorable to us. They were very negative, talking about the turnover at our bank, the senior management team leaving that had been there for over 40 years. And just the numbers were horrendous. Our Texas ratio was over 200%. Our non-current loans were over 12%. 2 times we kept hitting that number. Really, really bad time. I would go in at 6 o'clock in the morning with my 3 kids, work, take them to school, pick them up, stay till midnight every single day. We ended up orchestrating the fastest turnaround in the nation without adding capital, according to our regulators, and we're able to get off our written agreement in March of 2012. You can imagine a troubled bank, what the culture is like. Community perception was terrible. I was ostracized from our community. It's hard to even tell you how much people hated me. The senior management team that was there before me was very beloved, and I was seen as this horrible person coming in and destroying this precious bank. I went to go get my hair cut for the first time in Edmond after being there for a couple of months. And a lady was cutting my hair and saying, "Dear, where do you work?" And I said, "Well, I work at Citizens Bank of Edmond." And she said, "Watch out, there is a lady that works there that is horrible. She's firing everybody." And I'm like, "That's me." And she's like, "No, you're so sweet. It's this other lady." I'm like, No, that's me." And so, yeah, it's totally true. And so then I decided, well, I'll drive to South Oklahoma City to get my hair cut the next time. And that was another 2 months down the road. And this guy's cutting my hair, and he asks where I work. And I say, "Citizens Bank of Edmond." He's like, "Oh my goodness, I have a customer that also lives in Edmond. They were telling me about Citizens Bank of Edmond, and there's this lady there." I'm not exaggerating. And I'm like, "That's me." It's like, no, you're so sweet." I'm like, "No, I am not. I'm the bad person, and we're turning this thing around." I couldn't talk about what was happening at the bank. I couldn't talk openly with some staff members. My chief operating officer didn't talk to me for a year and a half, my first year and a half working there, and now she's my closest confidant at work. But a pretty amazing time to be at a bank where you're going through a turnaround. We have essentially a very similar staff as what we had at that time. So these are all folks that saw me as that type of leader and that type of culture. And we had a culture where people would lie, the people were stealing directly from the bank. It was not good. But we were able to kind of reform the culture, and everyone started buying in one at a time to start seeing that this bank can be something special. Whenever they got their very first 401k statement, since I told you that they were all owners of the bank, and they saw their stock value go from $51 a share to $9 a share, everyone was like, "Hey, what's going on?" I'm like, "Yeah, remember those losses and the fraud? That's what happens to stock value." And so everybody really understands that. It was a great educational, albeit expensive, education for us all. So the day, this is crazy. I was attending a conference and was sitting in a social media session and got a call from the state banking commissioner saying that we were released from a written agreement, that we were no longer a troubled bank. I went back into the session, and the guy was talking about Twitter and that Twitter can help you optimize your search engine results. And so just a little bit about me, giving you a little background of what I'm like. My background is engineering and economics, Federal Reserve. I'm a total nerd. I am very much introverted, so I'm an enthusiastic introvert. I'm very passionate about what I do, but I'm not a very extroverted person. I grew up really poor. I had to enlist in the Army to pay for college, really worked my way up. And so this was a really precious opportunity for me to come back and lead this bank. And so that's kind of a little bit about my background. Joined Twitter and just kind of watched for a few months. Then I started engaging, and then I got banned from Twitter, and I still haven't figured that out, and had to hire someone to get me unbanned from Twitter. And so I'm still okay now. But started to see there was a sense of community, and then I could still, because when you recovered as a bank through a troubled situation, you just don't come running out of that. You're limping out of it and still trying to fix a lot of things, even though you're not at a critical state. And so Twitter allowed me to have this present presence in the community, this engagement with others, and it started changing community perception about my bank. But not only that, it started changing community perception about me. And it wasn't as all contrived, and people will talk about, oh, your personal brand and this and that. It really wasn't anything like that. It was just me trying to be my authentic self and talk about the bank and lift up others to try to repair some of that relationship and build back up the social capital of our bank. So I interact quite a bit on Twitter, and these are really difficult to see, but I encourage you to go down to Twitter and Facebook and look at how I respond to different things. But we'll have negative reviews. This happened to be a positive one because we didn't want to highlight our negative reviews. But I will get a negative review, and within 20 minutes, you'll see a response from me talking to the individual, apologizing for the situation, and saying, I'm here to help you. Here's my cell phone number. I'll also send them a friend request that they normally don't accept on Facebook. And then I'll send them a personal Facebook message saying, this is really me, I really want to help. They'll always call, and we almost always are able to repair the situation, and many times build advocates for us. When I first got on Twitter, I would search for Citizens Bank sucks, and there are millions of Citizens Banks out there, but I could find Citizens Bank of Edmond sucks every single time I searched, and I was even searching today. So I don't use like any fancy things to monitor our social media, which I probably should, but I started seeking out people that were complaining about us and then being able to resolve situations and get them engaged in the solutions creation. So now when someone complains about us on Twitter, which really doesn't happen very often, I think because people will know we're listening, maybe they are more apt to directly message me or tag me whenever they have a problem. Those individuals that were complaining about us are now my brand advocates. They are the ones where they see someone that's complaining about Citizens Bank of Edmond, that they're even someone that's having a trouble with a different financial institution. I will get tagged, and they will say, Jill will take care of this, or Jill will give you wisdom about this, and they'll engage me in a conversation. And these are the people that were saying Citizens Bank sucks. They're now saying Citizens Bank is great. Our followership is really amazing. We don't go after followership, and I don't personally, and we don't as a bank. We really look more at interactions and are people talking with us, and we really don't look as much at the metrics, but we have great followership. So on YouTube, if we do a how-to video about how to make a deposit at an ATM, we'll have 1,000 views. If we do a fun video, it may have tens of thousands of views. And again, we're a $250 million bank, 55 people. Up until last year, we had no marketing support. I mean, absolutely none. And so you have this engineer, economist, nerdy person trying to be kind of this voice of the bank. But I think that authenticity and what Irene was just talking about, being simple and transparent, really started resonating with people. One thing I have grown to love, because I think social media is so much about listening and less about promoting, and I love LinkedIn. I used to not love LinkedIn, so sorry the LinkedIn guys that are in the audience, but I thought it was more as a recruiting tool for headhunters and not necessarily something for me. But these are all individuals that are on this, and I have 55 employees, so this is a big percentage of my staff. These are all folks that were recruited somehow through social media, Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. In the bottom right, her name is Fawn, and she's a commercial lender. She worked at a large regional bank, and I saw that she checked my LinkedIn profile. So when you go in there, you can see who was checking out your profile, and you can get really excited, like a lot of people are looking at it. Well, what I look at is who are these people, and then why are they engaging with me? Well, we had a commercial lender that was a position opening. Fawn is one of the biggest and most well-known commercial lenders in the Oklahoma City area. She worked for a large regional bank. I had no access to her. She would have been so expensive to try to recruit away. But I sent her a message and say, hey, I saw you saw my profile. I wonder if you'd like to get together for lunch sometime. We have an opening at our bank. And she's like, I have no interest in leaving. I do not want to have any conversations about recruiting. But I'm curious because I see all this stuff about your bank happening. I see your posts on LinkedIn. I see these conversations happening on social networks. And I'm just curious about what's happening there. So we went to 2 lunches, and then she called me and said, I really want to be a part of this story. And so we were able to hire her. Really difficult to find commercial lenders in our market, and we were able to find Fawn really easily. And the stories are just like that, just numerous and numerous. generous. So we do this video, and I encourage you to kind of check it out. My time is flying by. But if you go to YouTube, we did 2 videos, a Gangnam Style video and a Royals video, that really talk about our bank. One was kind of, we finally got off a written agreement. We want to have a good time, and you can kind of see our culture changing in that. But then whenever you go to the Royals video, it really talks more about who we are as an institution. One thing I want to stress is that it's okay to fail as a banker. I think we're maybe a little bit more courageous at our bank because we went to almost near failure. Like, we were in some really serious stuff. And that little bitty failures that are inexpensive and don't have a reputational risk, it's okay to fail fast and small as a banker. We try to eliminate all risk of failure as bankers, and we need to stop doing that. It's okay to put yourself out there a little bit. And so we started doing cash mobs. It's a great example. The night before we decided to do this, I said, let's give our staff money to shop at a particular business on a certain day, and let's ask them to post that on social media. We did that, and the stop owner is shown here. We've done this a couple dozen times. And this picture with her showing We Love Citizens Bank was on the front page of the Daily Oklahoma in our state gigantic newspaper, front page of their business section. Giant front fold, top fold, all color, We Love Citizens Bank, and we were able to get great earned media from that. But there was a lot of naysayers about, this is stupid. I'm like, well, okay, this is stupid, and started having some doubts. But then in the end, it cost our bank $300 to end up getting in every newspaper and to be highlighted over and over again about these efforts in supporting small business. We also put on a big festival every third Saturday, March through October, in downtown Edmond, and we have over 20,000 people that attend a bank customer appreciation event. We have 3 local bands, 3 dozen food trucks, 3 dozen pop-up shops, and it's amazing. These are just some of the pictures from one of them, but it is amazing. So if you're ever in Oklahoma City, I will give you the VIP tour. We're also, as a suburban event, the Urban Land Institute, which is very urban snob, selected us as the Community Building Project of the Year. And we didn't even apply for this. Other people put us up for this. So now when you search for Jill Castilla, I want to make this point very clear, that being a bank on social media as a CEO is about aligning your CEO with the bank. It's not about self-promotion. It's not about putting Jill out there. It's about connecting Jill with the bank so that if you're doing anything out in the public, it comes back and reinforces the bank itself. So when you search for Jill Castilla, you're going to see stories about the bank. You're not going to see a background search check for Jill Castilla. It's going to be tied to citizens and continue to reinforce the brand. We get great national publications. Our bank, I think, because we've been in a period of darkness and have embraced that and are now very transparent with our history, I believe that that's why we're getting a lot of light our way. And we try to be very humble. My office is in the lobby and not in an ivory tower. And I think as CEOs, the more that we can get out there in the grocery store aisle, so to speak, using social media, the better we'll be perceived publicly as an industry, as an institution, and as an individual. The bottom right shows my team. For the last 2 years in a row, they've won Best Team, under $40 billion with a B, we're a $250 million bank, by American Banker. It's been incredible to see how people have continued to support that. I want to thank you so much for having me. This has been a complete blast. I'm so grateful to be here. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. If you'd like a copy of our social media policy, any question at all, feel free to reach out to me, and I love to engage with you. Thanks so much for having me, and I look forward to connecting with you guys after the conference.